Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RVing in New England. It's January 9th, and we've got a really jam-packed show for you tonight. I think you're going to really like it. Let me bring my partner up here and see what we got going on the week's activities. Hey, John.
Bob, good afternoon. Good evening.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm looking out the window. It's pitch black out, but I'm looking forward to the days that behind me at 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights, it's going to be dark. I mean, going to be light.
Yep.
And that's what we got to look forward to. But I'm really excited about this show. Number one, it's the first time I've been back in my home studio in several weeks. It was funny setting up tonight. But we've got some great guests, but there's so much going on. All of a sudden, you know, you turn that page from 18 to 19 and it becomes electric with all the activity that's out there in the RV world. And but hey, this time next week, you know, the move-in will be in full force.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a good guest for the night, 2 nights before the show, and then so we have the show on Wednesday night. Thursday, I'm going to be back on Bloomberg Radio talking about the show Thursday afternoon, and then the show opens up on Friday. We've been busy this week with the sneak peeks on the Facebook page and our pre-show videos. You did some great ones this week, and it's showtime. There's no question about it. Let's bring our guest up right away. Anything in particular you want to say before we bring our guest up?
No, it's just terrible to be back up north. Outside of that, everything's great.
Okay.
After 2 weeks in Florida, it's terrible to be back in the cold.
All right. Please welcome John and Heather Harvell. And guys, welcome to the show. And you got to get a little bit closer because there you go.
To each other or to the camera?
There you go. There you go.
Here.
Well, you know, it's probably cold up in Presque Isle, Maine, so you want to keep a little bit warmer, right?
That's right.
It's probably always cold in Presque Isle, Maine.
I was going to say, John, I don't think you have anything to complain about because not to us.
Although,
let me tell you how cold.
Years ago, in 2015, where we are in Central Mass, this was the snow capital of the entire United States, including Alaska. We had over 100 inches of snow.
We appreciate your willingness to help us.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about Presque Isle weather. I told John earlier, I had an office up there when I had ITI. We had a microfilm service bureau up in Presque Isle. And we opened on December or January. And we said, we can't have a grand opening in December or January in Presque Isle, Maine. So we deliberately pushed it out to the end of April because John McKernan was governor then, and John was going to come, and Olympia Snow was going to come, and Presque Isle did it really up big for us. Their business development people that we worked with were great, so we scheduled it for the end of April. So I flew up the night before. We had 2 feet of snow the night before. So we're opening this business in 2 feet of snow in Presque Isle, Maine. I'm delighted that you joined us on such short notice. I happened to see the article, and I mentioned it in the promo this week. And I said, wow, this is just a great family story. And we do have our viewers jumped on early tonight. So we have Mass Good Sam on. That's the Good Sam chapter. You probably ran into some of those people when you're out there. And I'm not sure if I suspect that's Rhonda and Joe. Oh, that was a great plowing year, Rhonda says. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have two girls in the Boston Brew. That's Michelle and Laurie. And Michelle's the marketing communication director for Rolling on TV. So we might get you a segment on there. And I'll tell you this also. I had a phone call. We did get it published in RV Daily Report, and I had a phone call from Greg Gerber, the editor, and he said, send me their information after the show because I want to do a story on them for RV Daily Report.
A national story.
That's a national story. And we got Brian and Lisa down there in, where is it? Northampton. No.
Yeah, they're out there. Greenfield.
Northampton. But yeah. Two Feathers, they restore old RVs. And I'm sure there'll be some more jumping on beforehand. Tell us, if you would, how long had you thought about doing what you did? And then give us a little recap of what
you did. Time out. Yeah, I always have to correct Zagami because he puts the cart before the horse. if our viewers hadn't read the promo, they don't know what these people did. So why don't I tell them?
Go ahead.
From October to December, they took themselves and 4 kids in a motorhome and went 10,000 miles across the country. But the most important and interesting aspect of that is that they're all still speaking to each other and all living under the same roof.
But we don't know that.
Tommy, go ahead.
But we don't know that. We know they're under the roof. We don't know if they're speaking to each other.
Well, the kids might be duct taped to each other downstairs, but nevertheless.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did in a nutshell, John. We only have 3 kids, though, not 4. So there was 5 of us total.
Oh, read the newspaper wrong.
We're good with 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't come home with any more.
No, we came home with our 3, which was a success. No, I mean, that was obviously something we laugh about it because our friends had bets on how long it would be before we turned around and came home. So they had made bets like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And as we got going, we knew it was a possibility that we would be sick of each other or fighting or, it's close quarters. And we actually found that our family became closer and we were enjoying each other more and more, like becoming kind of a team on the road.
So you didn't do a rehashed version of the movie RV with Robin Williams?
Do you know what? We have not seen it, but we've had a lot of people who said that we should.
Yeah, it's probably good that you didn't see it before you went because you probably wouldn't have gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably.
But what do you, just so I'm sure our audience is interested in knowing a little bit about the background before the trip, but what do you folks do for work that allowed you to be away that extensive period of time?
I own a State Farm office in Holton, Maine, and I have real estate, and I have a property manager that was able to manage that from while I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I'm an artist. I take commissions, so I can kind of do that. I did a couple on the road and put on an art show when we got back, so I was kind of working for that.
Oh, great.
I think you have somebody in your fan club, Heather.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yes. That would be my mother.
Hey, Mom, I'm going to be on TV tonight. The whole world's going to hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa O'Brien wants to know how you handled all the energy.
Oh, well, I sent you a picture. Do you have the one? We have a 4-year-old, which that's a big deal. And we set up a basketball hoop in our master suite. And he actually played basketball. There we are. So on days that it was raining or too cold to go outside, we had to make up stuff. We did kind of like plank challenges, workout challenges in the hallway. Everybody tried to plank longer than the other one, do push-ups. You have to just be creative.
Now, you said it was a 32-foot Jayco. Did it have a slide on it as well?
Yeah, 2 slides.
Okay, 2 slides. Okay.
Yep.
So basically, this kid can dunk at 4 years old.
Yes.
Off the bed, yeah.
Off the bed. Oh, there you go. There you go. That's a good size.
Yeah.
That's a good size stretch. What was the other slide? Was in the closet in the bathroom, the bedroom on the other side.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Bob, if you're looking down at the comments and stuff, I'll just keep asking questions, but just chime in here at any time.
There was one that I wanted to bring up. Somebody, and you guys love the new shirts. Thank you for noticing. Yeah, we did. We just picked them up today, actually. See, I told you our audience is they're very astute. They don't miss. There you go. They don't miss.
Mine's a medium.
I can't find the note, but somebody said how many miles a day.
Oh yeah. I think Michelle wrote that.
What was your road plan? I mean, 71 days, 10, and John, you were wrong. It wasn't 10,000. It's 10,492 miles. I don't want to correct you. It's 10,492.
Hey, when you go 10,000 miles, 492 is like a drop in the bucket.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
So how did you manage that whole thing about traveling? And did you have a plan ahead of time, or did you just get up every morning and say, let's see where we go today?
So we originally planned out, we had a skeleton view of what we want to do for our trip. And our original plan was we were going to take a long drive and then stop someplace and then take day trips out from that one location.
Oh, from that.
But what we found out is that after about 4.5, 5 hours of driving, our kids were tired, we were spent. So we changed our plan and started driving about 250 or less miles per day.
Yeah, good idea.
And that's pretty much the rule of thumb. Most of 300 miles, or 5 or 6 hours. I always tell people 50 miles. No matter what you do during the day, you're going to average 50 miles an hour. You can plan it whatever way you want. So do 50 miles an hour, do 5 hours, 250 miles, and that works out well. And we should tell people, and you should tell people, you were not RVers.
No. We had no experience.
Right, and I think that's important. An important point because you must have planned the trip and said, let's buy an RV, or you bought the RV and said, let's take use of it. How did that come about?
We looked at renting first. We wanted to take a trip. We knew we wanted to go across the country. We had family out west. We had family down south. We had family in the Florida area. So we knew we kind of wanted to make that roundabout trip. And we looked at renting, but the cost of renting with the mileage on top of it was a lot of money. So we did some math, and I figured with the depreciation of the RV, we probably would be ahead further if we bought one and then sold it later on in the springtime.
That's what I tell people when I do my seminars. Because people say, I'm going to rent one and go to California. No, you're not.
Yeah,
no, don't do that.
Don't do that. But I tell them, buy a good used RV, use it, come back. Two things are going to happen. You're going to love it, you're going to keep it.
Yep.
Or you're going to love RVing and trade it and buy another one, or you're going to say, that's good, I'm done, and not do it anymore.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When you came up with this idea and told friends, neighbors, and relatives, how many did you have to tell before the first one said, you're crazy?
Oh, right.
I didn't have to tell one. Just, get out of the mouth barely, and you're nuts. All of them felt that way. But they all followed up with, wow, that's awesome. Good luck. I wish we could do it too. That was the next sentence. Besides,
right. That's always the thing. They say, boy, I wish I could do that. And your answer to them was what? When they said, because I'm sure you got that a lot, especially on the road when other people saw you. The natural answer is to say, then just do it. And we tell people, do it before it's too late to do it.
Oh my gosh, Bob. That's like exactly, we just had we documented our whole show as an art show, and we were a First Friday art walk in a gallery downtown. And on Friday night, everybody wanted us to talk about the trip and take questions and answers. And I kind of gave exactly that speech. I wanted to say, to kind of give a little push. I mean, it's a new year, so it's a good time.
Yep.
Pick something off your bucket list. If you want to take a trip like this, just do it, because you don't know what the future holds. So if you wait, you just don't know. So that is exactly my speech, is just do it.
The sad part about traditional RVing as we know it with this generation is that people wait until they're retired to buy one or to go anywhere. Yeah. When the reality is once you hit a certain age, maybe even 40, everybody is one doctor's office visit away from getting news that they don't want to get.
That's right, John.
How many, and I'm sure that our viewers that are watching tonight probably has a story of a friend who said, I'm going to wait a little bit till I've got more time. And they got one of those notices from the doctor's office saying, come right back in because we see something on a CAT scan or MRI that's not looking the way it should. And they never got a chance to do it.
We couldn't have done half the stuff that we did. We had our children, we had our kids with us, which was super cool. And when they get older, they can't do that.
Right.
And like our health, like we biked around Yosemite, we biked all the state, the national parks, and we hiked them and biked them. I mean, we did so much that we probably couldn't have done if we waited till we were retired.
Now, tell us how old the kids were. You said one son is 4.
Yeah, and then we have another son that's 9 and a daughter that's 11.
4, 9, and 11. So you had a Class C, so a couple of them slept over the drivers.
We gave that to our middle school daughter.
Okay.
She had her own bedroom. No, it's good.
It was her own space, and that's why the Jayco that we had bunk beds in one of the slides, because we wanted each of them to have their own space they can go to. Yeah. And they have the curtains, they have their little pocket where they kept all their books, and then we had little bins of toys. But my daughter, who just entered middle school, strung lights up, and she had her decorations and comforter, everything. She made it her own place. It was wonderful. And the boys did the same thing. We all had our own space. It was awesome.
Did you drive at all?
So it's kind of funny. I drove 3 hours. I drove 3, but I drove in the only snowstorm that we drove through. So that's my see.
So that would be equivalent of 40 hours in dry rub.
So Mary Pastori joined us. Hi, Mary. And as she says, there's never a perfect time. Just go. Mary and Jeff own Hartville RV out in Hartville, Ohio. And they've got quite a crew of kids that are quite talented too. And I'm glad she's becoming a regular. I will tell you this, we have a ton of comments already. We have 23 comments already.
We usually only get 50 for the show. We're only 11 minutes into it.
11 minutes into it, we already got 23. So I'll tell you what, John, you talk about something.
Okay, you read the comments.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to read the comments and probably pull up a couple. Yeah.
We're better than Rowan and Martin and Huntley and Brinkley and whatever. But so you've been home less than a month, right?
Yeah.
How did you handle the schooling issues with the school age kids during that time period? Are they pushed back, or are they going to miss a semester, or how'd that work out?
All right, so I kind of can feel this. So I met with all the teaching teams in our district, and I was kind of proactive, and I brought in all the things that I was going to do with them on the road. So the things that they did, well, each child had a binder, and they kept track, like the older kids kept track of our mileage. So when we would start at one place, they would write it down, the location, the mileage, and the time to the minutes. And then when we stopped at a place, they would bring out their binders and do the same thing. So they did the math of the miles and the time to the minutes. They knew the locations, the states. So that's geography. And then my daughter has to do, then we did budgets, and my daughter is doing percentages. So every week she gave us our budget totals, including the percentages. So they were working on some of the stuff that they would have been working on anyways. So I kind of brought that to the teaching team, so they knew that we were already going to be doing stuff. We journaled every time we went to a location. They had we bought iPads for the trip and keyboards. Okay. So the keyboards were key because they journaled. So all of the two older kids journaled every time that we hit a spot. We try to do daily, but it didn't end up to be exactly that. But every time we left a place, they had to journal and do journal entries. And I gave them prompts. So basically what I did is I came to the teaching teams and I said, here are the educational places that we're going. Here's what we're going to be doing. Is there anything else that you would like them to be doing? And I can do that, so that they had some say. There wasn't as big of a void when they got back. And then each of the kids is presenting to their classrooms. One has already done it.
Okay.
That is fantastic.
They're probably like heroes of Northern Maine.
They felt like it when they came back.
Yeah.
Everybody was crowding around and excited that they were back, and it was.
Bob, do you have a comment that you want to post?
Yeah, I wanted to post Diane Quiley.
Tell them who they are.
Yeah, Diane and her husband Martin are the new state directors in Maine for the Good Sam chapters in Maine.
I saw your post. I checked out your Facebook today, and I saw that you posted that they were trying to kind of revamp it, or. Yep.
They were state directors a few years back. It kind of just fell off a little bit, and they lost some members, so they asked them to come back because they do such a great job. Diane, I'm going to give you an idea. I know you get your annual rally at the Freiburg Fairgrounds in September, I think.
The weekend after Labor Day.
It might be nice, and if their schedules work and if they want to do it, if you had John and Heather present a Sam rally. And Good Sam has a lot of families in them. You know, the FMCAs and the escapees, they tend to be an older crowd. But Jason Cole, he wants me to, I already pulled my camera down. But Jason and Lisa are the Good Sam directors in Rhode Island. And Walter Swenson. I haven't seen Walter on here yet tonight.
Oh, he's out getting his car fixed.
Well, his truck. The deal his truck up.
He got banged up in the auto body today.
Right. He had an accident. Fortunately, he didn't have his fifth wheel there, but he had a woman pull out in front of him in his pickup truck that he uses to pull a gigantic fifth wheel trailer. But he didn't have the trailer, or she may not have lived to talk about it. He pulled out in front of him and froze, and he had a dash cam. Thankfully, he had a dash cam, and the insurance company just started writing the checks, and they said, we can see everything. But then they got it all fixed up, and they were running it around the dealership, and some guy ran it into a car. So, so,
and you know what? He called one of those lawyers that he saw on TV that said, "If you've been in an accident, call us today."
That was the most popular billboard we saw out west, was lawyer ads.
Personal injury. They're in Florida. Oh. They're all over the place. Personal injury ads.
Yeah, and Lisa and Brian say, hands-on real-life skills are best. That's there is actually a group called Full-Time Families.
Yeah,
and they do not travel together, but they get together quite often. So 10 of them, and they live full-time in their RVs, motorhomes and fifth wheels, and they might see each other, or they'll put a post out and say, 6 of us are going to the Grand Canyon on this particular week, and all of a sudden 12 of them show up, and they all get together, and they homeschool their kids, and they do a great job with it. So we got
any pets? Did you have any pets with you?
No
pets. Probably made it a lot easier.
Yeah, that may have been stretching it a little too far,
especially when you all left the RV at once.
Right.
Hey,
Jerry Plant says he used to use the 250 rule also. Yep.
Let me ask you this, you guys. Have you heard the kids, since you've come back, obviously, have you heard the kids talking about an aspect of the trip, not necessarily to you, but to each other, that you didn't even think that they might have noticed, but, they brought into today's conversation?
Wow. The thing that, someone at our opening said, did you hit your goals, or did, your idea of what you wanted this to be? And it actually exceeded it. And there were things that happened to our family that I wasn't expected. And one of those things is that we became more appreciative and grateful for the things that every day we take for granted and our kids have never had to go without, such as electricity, water, and we always laugh, but where your poop goes. And so, the aspect of being grateful and appreciative for big beds or a big living room floor to roll around on. When we arrived in Connecticut, we had been on the road for, Connecticut was 2 days before we came home. And we stopped at John's mom's, and our 4-year-old rolled around and just crawled around her living room floor because he was so excited. And my daughter says, "Oh, shower," And so that was something that they still kind of talk about, is the family time, the water, electricity, the whole thing. We became more appreciative for the things that we take for granted in our everyday life.
Did you get off the interstates and do the state roads?
We did maps on our phones, and we took a lot of state roads. We didn't have a problem going into downtown Savannah with the RV, pulling a car.
We did not mean to do that. That was.
We did anyways. It isn't. I always looked at. I'm the biggest thing on the road at that point in time, so we didn't have a problem with it. But
yeah, they'll get out of your way. Let me. You got a couple of potential.
It's got a speaking gig here. A couple speaking gigs. A couple of
speaking engagements. The Rhode Island Good Sam would love to have you June 14th to 16th in Richmond, Rhode Island. See, this gives you a good place to hang on to the RV. So you could drive down to Rhode Island, because
I love Rhode Island.
If you do that, they'll comp you the campsite, and you can kind of talk and have fun at the same time. And these Good Sam chats, these are great people. Diane says, yes, she would like to have you at the family rally, which is in Freiburg. I thought so, 6th to 7th, and they get a lot of people there. And they're hoping for, well, their goal is to get 80 rigs. They used to get over 100 when Diane and Martin were in charge of it before. So they got a little rebuilding to do, but a talk such as yours would be kind of fun for them. And you're all up there in Maine.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Laurie and Michelle wanted to know if you had pets. John already answered that one.
Yeah. Family trip. Yeah.
Jason says, this is turning into a fun family trip into a learning experience, showing them how to budget. That's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah.
It was awfully scary when my daughter would tell me that, we spent $2,000 this week and, $1,000 on fuel, and, you're up 20% from last week, and we're trying to go the opposite direction. Get the credit card on a lower balance. So.
Give us your approximate route. What when you left Maine, what did you do? Which way did you go, south or west?
We went north, actually.
Remember you said it's
Wait,
almost...
wait. You left Presque Isle and went north?
We went to Canada.
So
Yeah.
our real first stop we wanted to get was out to Niagara Falls. And so the only way to go was to either go south, all through Maine into New Hampshire and New York, everything, or we went up north. We hit Quebec City, and we came down in northern New York, and we came across Rochester area and stopped there, and then went up into Niagara Falls and crossed the border into Canada and stayed there for a couple nights, and then went into Detroit and came out in Michigan. And then we came down to Chicago that way. Yeah.
Well, we knew we were going to hit all of New England coming back up the East Coast, so...
We had been to New Hampshire. We had been to Mass, through different times. We wanted to go someplace we hadn't been before. Unfortunately, in a small tidbit, we crossed in Van Buren, Maine, into Canada, and within 20 miles on the Trans-Canada Highway, we blew a rear tire on our RV. We just blew it to smithereens. I don't know what we hit.
Inside or outside?
Outside. Inside. I'm sorry, inside tire. Inside tire.
Oh, an inside tire.
Inside rear tire, yeah. And so we crossed back over it in Madawaska. We ended up crossing over a bridge that was a 5-ton limit. We didn't know at the time. We came over. The Border Patrol gave us a little bit of a hard time. We stayed boondocked in the VIP O'Reilly parking lot that first night we had the RV. So it was a lovely start. My wife and kids were like, "Let's just go home. We're an hour from home. Like, we're not turning around. We keep going." So.
Well, that's like what you were saying. Like, we were complete amateurs, and we did not get off to a good start. So as we were boondocking in the VIP parking lot night one, this one wanted to go back home, and I said, "We don't know how to do this." So,
we just went, and we had a wonderful time.
It was phenomenal. Yeah.
Was the border crossings hassles at all? Of course, your little one in Maine was no issue, but coming from Windsor, were you in Windsor and Detroit, or?
No, we came across into like Toronto area. Was where we kind of come down that direction. Montreal was in upstate New York area. We had no problem. They did have a little question like, "You were just here yesterday. Why are you crossing so many times?" But
we were going back and forth, so I can see why that would be alarming.
But we never had to pull off. Never had to exit the RV. They looked at our passports and they asked the kids to come forward, and the kids all waved to them. And
I thought it was actually
did a very good job.
Super smooth, and they didn't come onto the RV, and they actually thought it was. They some of them were like, "This is awesome," They liked it
because it's common in Maine, from what I'm told. Were you carrying a weapon at all?
No, we were advised not to.
You actually can't. You can't cross. We could not carry a weapon.
I wanted to, but
or a taser or anything. You couldn't bring any of that into.
You could carry like spray, like
pepper spray. You can carry, yeah.
And that brings up a good question. You mentioned boondocking earlier. On a percentage basis, how many nights did you actually spend in a campground versus a Walmart parking lot or a Circle J or boondocking somewhere else?
I think we spent less. I think we spent 4 nights boondocking, but we spent 3 or 4 nights. Well, 4, 7.
It was more than
about 10 days with family, like in their driveway. So that's similar to boondocking, but we were hooked up to water.
You're able to plug in
power,
plug into the house.
Only 4 nights in random parking lots.
Yeah, like the Flying J's. We did Cabela's and Walmart. One Walmart.
Yeah. Did you plan with reservations for the national parks in advance, or did you just wing it?
So yeah, some of them we did reserve in advance, but as we got going, we had to.
They froze just a little bit. They will be back. Yeah. If you can hear us, John, you're okay. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back up. Yeah. See if that. There you go.
Are we here?
There they are. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, you don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well, that's technical stuff.
Yeah. So every once in a while it freezes up. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you ask the kids after it was over what was your favorite part of the trip?
Yeah, and a lot of people from our community have asked.
And were you surprised with their answers?
Yeah, I was actually very surprised because a lot of them would say it was the family time, which was pretty awesome. And then, like, my daughter has a top 3, which would be the Grand Canyon, Crater Lake. What's her other one?
Not Death Valley. She liked.
Was it Badlands?
Or Mount Rushmore, one of the two.
Mount Rushmore. And then our sons will say, like, Las Vegas for the Lamborghinis.
This is, you mentioned the Grand Canyon. This is one of the favorite pictures that you sent. I thought that picture was fantastic.
Thank you. It was awesome. Our kids, we just had a really good time.
Are those the 3 kids there?
Yeah.
Well, that's at Grand Canyon. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to Did you get to not Prescott? Not Win. Did you stand in a corner in Winslow, Arizona?
No.
The last place where the Route 66 didn't come through, where they have the train ride. Michelle, help us with that. Not Prescott, but it's a town in Arizona where it's the Wild West town. But
you know what? Route 66 was actually an added bonus that we didn't really plan to travel, and it was so fun. What we actually did with the kids is we got online and we looked up all the places along Route 66 that were featured on the Disney Cars movie.
Oh, that's right.
And then the kids were like loving it, and we went to the cafe drive.
You drop in.
Williams is the town.
It's so cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Williams, Arizona.
Yeah. So that we enjoyed Route 66 immensely. It was awesome.
Did you get into? Did you try out the In-N-Out burgers?
So In-N-Out Burger, like in the Carolinas, which is where I know it's from, but I experienced that when I was in college, but we never went there. We did
In-N-Out Burger.
California.
Well, there's also some out in the West Coast too, is there not? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's where they're from. I don't think they're out in the East.
No, we don't have them yet. No.
Yeah, we haven't done
I don't know what the In-N-Out. We didn't know that. We should have known that, John.
So you guys aren't vegetarians or anything like that. The kids are seaweed and stuff.
No, but like kind of that's a good segue into the fact that our 11-year-old daughter has celiac disease.
Okay.
So we had to do gluten-free all around the country, and that was an added kind of experience for us.
So were you were going into supermarkets periodically to restock, right?
Oh yeah.
So the cool part about the part I loved when I got going and I realized is that with an RV, I mean, I could make everything gluten-free. We knew it was gluten-free. We didn't have to worry about it. We didn't have to look for restaurants and cafes and all the places.
Yep.
I just made her gluten-free food every day, and she stayed healthy. And usually when we travel, we don't have that. And I loved that part of it. As a mama, it took a lot of stress off.
Sure.
I was waiting for the first comment about my vegetarian comment. I haven't seen the posts here yet, but I did get it.
I don't think the posts are not on.
I got my warning about talking about vegetarians, but I think they do have a burger that if you don't like bread, they'll make it with lettuce, because my wife had one of those things.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Five Guys will do that too. They'll make it with lettuce.
Yeah.
So that picture that you just put up, Bob, that's our kids doing the Junior Ranger programs. I'm sure like a lot of those families that do the RVing, they do all the Junior Ranger programs at all the national and state parks. That was so cool. So they did all these activity books, and then they got to swear in, and they got a little pin. And oh yeah, I have one of the little pins right here. So they got one of these little pins, and it would
Lake Mead. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay, so based on the park, then they collect all these little pins. That's great.
Yeah. So they had to kind of research and do all this activity scavenger hunts while we were there. So that was super cool, and they did that all around the country. And that was another fun little thing that we did.
Did you take them into any of the big hotels in Vegas? No, we went to that was our halfway mileage point, and so we went into the Rainforest Cafe, which is right on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Yeah,
we took the kids into a Cirque du Soleil show. That was our biggest trip thing that we did. That's outside of an RV park. We didn't do any amusement parks. We didn't do any hotel stays.
We didn't stay in a hotel one time.
We just really wanted to take our time and to enjoy what this country has to offer.
Yeah.
And that was our biggest decision we made.
Mm.
Yeah, Las Vegas was awesome, and it was good for us because we had just come out of the desert. Because we went to Death Valley.
What the country has to offer. What the kids think about that?
The redwood forest.
Amazing. You know, we have so pictures of them with these humongous trees. You just can't understand the size of those trees unless you go there.
Yeah. So you went from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters.
Yeah, we did. We went coast to coast. We went all over. It was awesome.
I know you got an exhibit up in, is the exhibit over in Holden or is it in Presque Isle?
It's in Presque Isle at the Wintergreen Art Center. It's up all month.
Up all month in January. Okay.
So you and John should come visit.
If you go through the whole, maybe I'll come up. If I didn't have so many shows this month, but if you go through the whole family, what was the favorite location of you and Isaiah and Jaden and Josh? Well, if you asked them what was the one place that they loved the most, what would you two say, and then what would the kids say?
I would say that it would be Crater Lake in Oregon. It was just a beautiful place. The kids really had a good time. They all really enjoyed what that has to offer and the history of Crater Lake and just the uniqueness of it and the beauty. It was unbelievably gorgeous.
And while we were there, it was like a snowstorm, but then it would change to bright sunshine, and it just went kind of through this dramatic weather pattern while we were there. And I don't know, it was kind of magical, and I don't know why, but our family just really enjoyed the day. And you have one picture that my son took of Crater Lake. It's a panorama of the lake and the small volcano that's forming in it now.
So, as Bob finds that, is that it?
Nope, that's the Death Valley.
That's Death Valley.
Yeah. Well, Bob's finding that out.
What's in the picture, Heather?
It's just blue water. It's like a big panorama of blue water, and there's a volcano in the middle. It just looks like a big lake kind of thing. Or there's another one of 3 of them jumping in the air. That one's from Crater Lake too.
I got that one.
Yeah, that one shows kind of how excited they are to be there. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, look at that. Well, so while Bob's searching for photos, this is a real good question that I'm going to ask, and I'm going to tell you up front that it's a good question so that you know that it's a good question. This is kind of like a Chamber of Commerce or an RVIA question, which I'll tell you about RVIA in a minute. Could you have had this much fun without an RV, but traveling in a car and doing hotels?
No. So when we were looking for an RV, we were thinking about a pull behind where we get a Class A. Yeah, I was leaning more towards just a pull behind. That way we could do what we want to do and only have one vehicle, whatever we want to do. But in reality, I think what we looked for was the RV that we picked was the safe haven and the home for the kids, so that no matter where we were in the country, they always had their home to come back to, and that was what was so special about it. If we went to a hotel, it'd be take a bag inside, you take a bag out, you go to the pool.
It's not your own bedding,
it's not your own bed.
Pillow.
Yeah.
So the other
did they eventually start taping pictures up on the wall?
They decked out their little spaces. They really had all their stuff. But the other thing is, when we traveled, I mean, this mama was like, everybody's seatbelted, but it was like traveling in your living room. So when you have a 4-year-old and you expect them to sit and drive for 4, 5, 6 hours, if he's in a space that he's super comfortable, it feels like a living room, then, I mean, that's doable. But if you have a 4-year-old and you're in a car strapped in and you have to stop to pee and you have to you have to find restrooms and you have to find food, it's just, to me, it would have been, we wouldn't have made the whole country, I don't think, if we hadn't had an RV.
John, before we jump to the next one, John, give your little speech.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We always forget this, and right around this time. So, ladies and gentlemen, the way that we can get 5,000 and 6,000 and 7,000 views for this show each week is because of you, not because I'm so good looking and Bob is. It's because
Bob is,
Bob's a little. Bob's got a nice shirt on. Let's just say that. It's because we ask you to share, and you do share. So right down on the bottom of your device, whether it's your computer or whether it's your smartphone, which I'm watching on a monitor right here, there's a share button down below. Share it with people you know that either are
yeah.
Share it with your RVing friends or with those folks that you think want to get into RVing. And you know what? We could talk all day long. You notice we haven't talked about the RV yet. We're talking about the intangibles, the parts of the RV experience that don't show up on a price tag. They don't show up on a window sticker. They don't show up in a brochure. They have to be told by moms and dads that have seen it. And I'm going to ask, unless the kids are in bed, if you may want to drag them out here and put them in front and see if they want to talk for a second or two, like I've done with some other shows. Sometimes the kids, they can say more in a few sentences than we can say in an hour worth of broadcasting. That's entirely up to you. But folks, please share it. And that's the way we get the thousands of people to watch it, because we need to bring more people into RV, especially young people.
So Diane says, I'm going to miss out on the crown of Maine when it's 32 below. Diane, I still wear short sleeves when it's 32 below. That doesn't bother me at all.
And it looks like Dad has been sent to get the kids.
Yeah, he's going to go.
Yeah, if they want to. If they don't want to, that's fine too. But what will happen is that if you bring these kids to these events, people are going to want to have them speak, and they'll develop public speak. Oh, boy, no hesitation there at all.
And that must be Josh. Oh, and that must be Isaiah.
Yeah, so this is Josh and Isaiah. Can you say hi to Mr. Bob
Hi.
and Mr. John?
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Did you have fun?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was your favorite
part, Josh?
It'd be hard to say.
Okay, Josh, you're not running for office here. Just tell us your favorite part, or we're going to slap you.
I don't know.
Well, tell him what.
Well, give me the top three.
What was your?
Oh, the princess is here.
The older sister. Isn't that great? Yeah.
Do you want? They asked Josh what his favorite thing was. Josh is kind of shy. Jaden is not as shy. So they want to know.
All right, Jaden. What was your favorite part or place?
My favorite place was Crater Lake in Oregon or the Grand Canyon.
Okay, Mom, you passed the test.
I know.
You had the same answer.
Well, there was three, I thought. What was the third one? Your top three was Crater Lake, Grand Canyon, and
the Badlands.
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 Yeah.
Okay. So have your friends been asking you in school what it was like?
Yeah.
And have they said, oh, that's so cool, I wish we could do the same thing?
No.
No.
Why do you think that they would say no?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I feel like it's a great experience, but not all my friends feel that way.
Because of the small space with their family?
Yeah.
So, when Mom and Dad first told you about this idea, what was your very first thought when they sat you down and said, this is what we're going to do?
I was excited but nervous at the same time.
How old are you?
11.
11. Boy, she's pretty well spoken for an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes. So the thing is that she just started middle school, and I think when you're in middle school, you don't want to be crammed in a small space with your family and your little brothers. So that's probably why her friends are saying that. But Jade, you were really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Until like the second weekend.
Until the second weekend when she missed her friends.
Yeah. Did you ever have to tell your brother, get away from me or rip your face off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not those exact words, but pretty close.
No.
I think she likes you, John.
No, did everybody make their beds up every day?
It was kind of hard to because I didn't have room. I had like this much room. Like,
Oh yeah, you were up over the cab, right?
Yeah.
Did you learn to sleep while your parents were driving?
I didn't sleep very good while they were driving, but one time they started driving at 5:30, and that's when I got up, and I couldn't fall back asleep. So I
didn't
couldn't
sleep when we drove.
No.
Yeah.
So you get up and made them breakfast, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
We did cereal most mornings, so it was pretty easy.
Yeah. How many meals did you eat outside? I mean, most are sometimes people buy RVs and they trade them 3 or 4 years later, and the dealers find that the books are still inside the oven because they've never used the stove. That actually happens a lot. I'll bet Mary Pastore can tell us stories about that from Hartville RV, that they'll get these things in for trade, and the folks have never done it.
I actually cooked a lot of meals in the oven. I had to alter, some things because the oven was so tiny for 5 people. So when I made chicken nachos or something, I had to stack them instead of lay them out on a cookie sheet. So I had to make a couple of adjustments on the meals that we usually make. But we cooked quite a lot of meals. And we would even stop at like a rest area or somewhere, and the kids and John, I'd kind of kick them out and they go play soccer in the parking lot, and I'd make dinner with the generator and that on and the propane and everything. And then they come back in and we eat and we hit the road again. And our 4-year-old said, what did he say? Can we do a rest area dinner again? He started calling it like the rest
area dinner.
He loved it. He'd get out and they'd play Frisbee or soccer. And then they come in and we'd eat and go.
Michelle,
did it ever get too hot or too cold?
The what?
Did it ever get too warm or too chilly?
So we hit a weird cold front everywhere we went. It snowed in Amarillo, Texas. Like we got snowed in. And so we thought we were going to be using the air conditioning a lot more than we did. I would say no. It got colder than it did warmer, even down through the south. So, but our RV kept up really well. To be honest, I thought we were going to have more problems than we did.
Mm.
Yeah, it kept up.
Yeah.
How about the animals? Jaden, tell us about the animals.
This is your. He's got right there. That's the bison. You just can't see it because it's half, but that's the bison from the Badlands.
Oh yeah, so you would like drive on the road and you'd have to stop to let the bison cross, and they were like right in front of your car. And if you just stuck your hand like outside the car, you could like touch it.
Felt like you could.
Yeah, and there were these little prairie dogs, and they were so cute. I feel like you just like could squeeze like like little stuffed animals.
She actually asked for a prairie dog for Christmas.
Oh,
now, did you guys take that picture of that bison?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not like from the Chamber of Commerce somewhere. That's exactly what it looks like.
Oh, that's actually, you might have taken that. I think she might have taken that photo actually.
Now, where you live in Maine, do you see moose walking by you all the time?
Yeah.
When we drive to camp.
Yeah, we have a camp at a lake in Fort Kent, and we actually see moose all fall. If you drive during like October, November, you're gonna see a moose.
Is that you taking pictures, Jaden?
Yeah. That's one of you. Yeah. In the
did you rent a car? Was that a car door, or was that from the RV?
They towed a car.
Behind.
Yeah, we bought.
Oh, you towed a car.
We bought a car and towed it 4 wheels down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That you used to get around when you got to certain places.
Yeah, especially like when we went into New Orleans, Chicago, any of the cities, DC. We wanted to see the redwood forest and Death Valley, the deserts and the mountains, but we also wanted to see the cities. So.
Boy, these guys, hey, they went all out, Bob. Their first time RVing and they towed a car. A lot of people don't do that.
Well, not only that, they had no problems with the RV. It was the 2013 grade. Boy, Jaden wants to change that story.
Tell them about one of them. Which one do you want to tell them?
They have a tire.
The wasp. They already know about the tire.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the write-up about the wasps. Tell me about the wasps.
We had like wasps in our like air conditioning like place, and they made a little nest above, and we think they started nesting here, and then when we drove and got to the warmer places, they started coming out, and we had like 4 in our RV, and we had to kill them to like get them out, and then we stopped somewhere, and we had somebody that was allergic to bees get up on our RV and try to take them out. And the hive was like this big, but it had a bunch of...
No, I don't know. Jaden, was it really that big?
Yeah, it was about this big.
You're not stretching the truth there.
It was like this big.
The wasps were that big. They were giant. And we stopped at a place called Jack's Campers. Do you remember where it was?
Rapid City.
Rapid City. So we stopped at a place called
South Dakota?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because John said, I am not handling this. This is out of my league. And he taped cereal boxes to all of the vents on our ceiling so that they wouldn't come in anymore. And we got there, and this guy from the RV place was really brave and went up on the top of our RV. And when he got up there and he had all this gear on and was going to evacuate the wasps, he then tells us he's allergic to bees. So it was very exciting. I have it on video.
I guess.
Did you bump into any other families that were doing similar to what you were doing?
Bumped into one.
Yeah, we did. Do you remember where that was?
It was near the Pacific Ocean.
It was near the Pacific Ocean. See, she learned the Pacific Ocean. That's good. We ran into a family in the Redwood Forest who sold everything, and they were doing it with their 2 kids. Do you remember their website? He had written a book, and they were doing it with their 2 kids kind of just on faith. They were going as missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that was pretty cool. They had a blog, and they wanted to put us on the blog, and John bought his book, and it was a nice little meeting.
Yep. There's a lot of those on the road.
Yeah.
Just quickly here, we're up to like 61 comments. As we tell everybody, we will go back because this is such a great show. We will go back and answer questions, and I would ask that, when you guys get a chance, we're still going to keep talking, but if you have a chance next day or two, if you'd go back on the comments in case there's something that they ask you. Linda, I'm not sure which state you were in, so tell us which state you were the state director of, if you would.
Probably Maine.
Yep, and Diane says, we think a prairie dog would be a great Yeah, not for you, Diane. Let somebody else have the prairie dog. Right.
So my brother-in-law is a forest ranger, and he told us they carry bubonic plague.
Of the prairie dogs?
Yeah, so we decided not to do that, but they are cute. Yeah.
Is that a State Farm shirt you have on?
That is a State Farm shirt. I know.
Go ahead, show the logo.
It's just not as pretty as yours.
Now it's a commercial venture.
It's a medium as well.
Look, so we had these shirts made up. Can you see that?
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Harvells. Who thought of the RV in the middle?
Well, I drew that out and designed the shirts. My sister is the one that said, you have RV in your name. So I have to give her the creative credit for that.
Well, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So were you selling shirts?
No.
No, we were just wearing them.
Every now and then we thought about selling our children on this, but we decided to keep them.
Give them away.
Yeah.
Give them away. So would you do it again? Maybe not next year, but would you do it again?
Okay, so what's funny is we like to say no, because then people are always taken back by that. And the only reason we say we wouldn't do it again, we wouldn't do it exactly like this, because it was exhausting. And who can take, you can't take 3 months out of the year all the time. And it was expensive. But what we would do is do it in shorter increments again.
Sure.
Absolutely. Right. And maybe pick a region of our country. And we love what we did. We have zero regrets because we got a taste of everywhere. And now there's places we want to go back, and we want to really get to know those places and get a chance to look around a little bit more than we did.
What's the one place that you, without question, you'd say, let's go back to?
So the East Coast, we hit this place called Tybee Island off the coast of Georgia. And it was
going from Savannah up that road.
Yeah. So the Savannah area, Tybee Island, we didn't get enough time there. It just is so historic, and it's very artsy. Like Tybee Island is it's like a lot of art and a lot of beach. So it's like my heaven.
So it was your second favorite place after south of the border. Did you stop there?
We didn't stop there. We did stop at Waldrug, though.
We stopped at Waldrug.
You didn't stop at south of the. What kind of parents are you?
We've already been there. I didn't want to go to that tourist stop. We went to several on this trip, but not that one. Yeah. We did go to the biggest truck stop on I-80. That was really good.
We were there. Isn't that gigantic?
It's gigantic.
It's crazy.
An I-80 truck stop.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you get your picture taken out in front where it says
the big word?
Oh, yeah.
Like a big mural.
Oh yeah.
And they had really cool stuff in there. I got some of those whistles that you put on your window. Your whistle. The whistle that you put on your mirror so it keeps deer away.
Oh yeah. Does it
work? Must work because we didn't hit any deer on the way back.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, you can get any kind of mud flap you want there, right?
Anything you want.
That place was crazy.
You get an eye doctor and a chiropractor. It's perfect.
Yeah. I don't know where Wall Drug is. Walter knows where it is because it's named after him, Wall Drug. Walter did join us here. Walter, you got all the trucks fixed and everything.
There he is.
Fixed and everything. So Lisa's saying, well worth staying late at the shop to watch the show. Oh, okay. So much fun watching you guys. So glad that John and Heather and family had this great adventure. We will make lots of great memories. Keep racking up those miles.
We can't.
We lost you.
Hold on. John, we can't hear you.
You're frozen in time.
Oh, well, that happens. Did you guys go by the RV Hall of Fame? Or were you north of that?
I can't see Bob. I can't see you, Bob, and I can't see John is frozen.
Tight back.
Okay, and you're frozen on mine. But
oh, you don't have that.
Yeah, see, we have it's funny, we have a little bit of a delay. A Wall, South Dakota. Okay. You back yet? Bob, you here? Well, if I'm the only one that's working, while you guys take, oh, there we go. Now you're back. There you're back. So we probably have so many different viewers that's why it messed us up. So what would you say to other families that are considering this?
Try to try it.
Okay. I guess it's just me. So I have no idea if anybody can hear me or not. However, when they come back, which I'm sure they will, we want to remind you that next week, next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is the Boston RV and Camping Expo at the Boston Convention and Expo Center. And I think the Friday hours start at 4 o'clock and the next couple of days start at 9 in the morning. And there's no conflict with the Patriots. So if they win this week, they play next week, but they play Saturday night after the show is closed. So it's not an issue at all. So, you know, that's cool. Rainey, I'm doing a good job with my one-man show. The amazing thing is I'm not running the show. So Bob is somewhere. He has all the controls. But we do want to let you know that Rainey Lieberger just jumped in here, and he's at his new place at Bradford RV in Brockton, and he'll be at the show. And where else was I yesterday? Hey, you guys, I was at Normandy Farms yesterday, and it's the craziest thing in the world to be at one of America's most highly rated campgrounds when I'm the only one there. Me and Marcia and a couple people from the office. And it's kind of like going to a drive-in theater in the middle of the winter. You know that it's going to be cool during the summer. But so we're talking about all the great campgrounds from Massachusetts that are going to be talked about at the show in Boston next week. What else can we talk about today? Black tank story. Yeah, I had a black tank story several years ago. We won't get into that now. One-man show. We hear you, John. Thank you, Lisa. Everyone is frozen except John. And I have short sleeves on, which is kind of amazing. So the interesting part about this whole show right now is I don't have any control over the show. Zagami does. So the only thing I can do is stop the camera. If I don't stop the camera, if I press stop camera and it doesn't, he might just go on, and you might hear things being said that you don't want to hear. What else should we talk about? The Boston show is going to have some very, very interesting new units at this year. We've got a preview of some of them, and you really got to get to that show. And even if you're not going to buy an RV, see what's new, see the campgrounds. And you know, see some of the new stuff that's out there. You might want to get some accessories, and our friends at Majors RV will always have their display going. And then across from them is usually that guy that puts the flagpole up and down 25 times, you know, 25 times a minute. Remember those? I don't know if you chip in, if you guys hear me, remember the guys where you go to the RV show, there's always that one guy that's putting that flagpole up and down. Imagine that, having that job. It certainly has its ups and downs. But why don't we do this? It's just about ready to close the show. And what I'm going to do is say, thank you so much for joining us. Please share with your friends. We'll find out if our friends from Maine were abducted or just what. But nevertheless, we want to thank the Harvells from the great state of Maine. We want to thank you for joining us. And be sure to join us again next Wednesday night, same time, same channel, for another edition of RVing in New England. Have a great evening, everyone, and let's go RVing.